Vladimir Putin is set to become the president of Russia for the fifth time. Preliminary counting suggests he will win with a record number of votes. The voter turnout well above expected 70%, beating the numbers of 2018.
This is why the turnout is high. People came to create the conditions for internal political consolidation to move forward. This unity will allow us to act effectively on the front line in the economy, humanitarian development, achieving the goals of social development projects. We have huge development plans. People felt that and came to create the conditions for development and the strengthening of their fatherland, Russia.
The result had been a foregone conclusion, with political analysts saying that it was a plebiscite on the operation in Ukraine.
I think it just shows that most of Russians, as it was suspected by many, they may not support the start of the operation, but they're not prepared to see the defeat of Russia and to agree to a defeat or to some kind of peace on very unfavorable conditions. I think the general mood is, okay, he started it, now we have somehow to wrap it up in a more or less good way for us.
For the first time, presidential election was held for 3 days instead of just one, and voters could cast their ballots online. Despite criticism in the West, international observers say they have no complaints about the voting.
When I arrived, I saw that everything was normal as it happens in elections across the world. I saw the police station with officials, voters and voting materials, and everyone could come vote as they wanted to in their physical and intellectual capacity.
Sporadic acts of protest as well as arrests were recorded throughout the 3 days of voting. The government says there were arson attempts at polling stations. On the final day of the voting, supporters of Alexei Navalny, the Putin opponent and Kremlin critic who died last month in prison and was labeled as a terrorist in Russia, lined up at polling stations in a protest, an act which was described as known against Putin. It was to demonstrate that there are people unhappy with the country's current course. Voting also took place outside Russia, with thousands of people casting their ballots at overseas polling stations. With the election result never in doubt, the understanding among most Russians is that stability in the country is preserved. But the concerns mount as to what will happen by the end of next presidential term in 2030. Dasha Chernyshova, TRT World, Moscow.